Jay-Z just got named in a civil lawsuit connected to Diddy's legal nightmare, and hip-hop's entire power structure is collapsing right now. We're talking about Sean Jay-Z Carter, billionaire, mogul, untouchable icon, allegedly facing accusations that have the internet questioning everything they thought they knew about the industry's elite. You're seeing this right, and what's unfolding is the breakdown of the illusion that certain people are too powerful, too rich, too protected to ever face accountability. This isn't just another celebrity scandal. This is the moment when hip-hop's biggest names are realizing that the walls they built around themselves might not hold anymore. Diddy, Jay-Z, and the entire generation of moguls who partied like kings in the 2000s are now watching their legacies get dissected, investigated, and exposed in ways they never thought possible. The internet has receipts, investigators are digging, and nothing is off limits anymore. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and smash the like. You won't want to miss what comes next. So, here's what just happened that has the culture in absolute chaos. An amended civil lawsuit, originally filed against Sean Diddy Combs, has reportedly been updated to include Sean Jay-Z as a co-defendant, and the allegations are serious. We're talking about claims involving an alleged incident from 2000 at an MTV Video Music Awards after-party, with accusations involving a minor. This isn't a criminal case, it's civil, which means we're talking about lawsuits, damages, and legal accountability through the courts, not jail time. But make no mistake, the severity of what's being alleged has sent shockwaves through the entire industry. Jay-Z's legal team came out swinging within hours. Attorney Alex Spiro released a statement that didn't just deny the allegations, it went full scorched earth, calling the claims false, labeling the lawsuit a blackmail attempt, and demanding that the accuser either reveal their identity or have the case dismissed entirely. That's an aggressive strategy, and it tells you that Jay-Z's camp is treating this like a war for his reputation, not just a legal inconvenience. They're naming the plaintiff's attorney, Tony Busby, directly and accusing him of using media attention to pressure a settlement. This is not the response of someone trying to quietly make something go away. This is the response of someone saying, "Bring it to court, let's see what you've got." But here's where it gets intense. The internet isn't waiting for a verdict. Within hours, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram were flooded with posts dissecting Jay-Z and Diddy's decades-long friendship, pulling up old footage, analyzing who was where and when, and asking the uncomfortable question: what really happened at those legendary industry parties that everyone talked about but nobody questioned? Hashtags started trending immediately. Cultural commentators started connecting dots. And the Beehive, Beyoncé's fan base, went into full defense mode, while others demanded accountability regardless of celebrity status. What makes this moment different from past celebrity scandals is the context. This isn't happening in isolation. Diddy is already facing multiple lawsuits and serious federal scrutiny involving allegations from different accusers across different years. The Me Too movement changed how we process allegations of misconduct. Look-back window laws in New York have opened the door for civil cases involving incidents from decades ago that were previously blocked by statutes of limitations. And the culture's patience for protecting powerful men, especially in industries with histories of exploitation, is at an all-time low. Right now, as we speak, Jay-Z has not been criminally charged. Beyoncé has not made a public statement. Major figures in hip-hop are conspicuously silent. And the legal process is just beginning, which means this story is going to unfold over months, possibly years. But the reputational damage, that's happening in real time. And the court of public opinion moves a lot faster than actual courts. All right, let's break down exactly what we know based on the legal documents, public statements, and verified reporting, because there's a lot of speculation flying around, and we need to separate facts from noise. The primary evidence is the amended civil lawsuit itself. According to reports from TMZ, Complex, NBC News, and multiple legal analysts who've reviewed the filing, the plaintiff, identified in court documents as Jane Doe, originally filed a lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs months ago. That lawsuit has now been amended to include Sean Jay-Z as a co-defendant, and the allegations are serious. We're talking about claims involving an alleged incident from 2000 at an MTV Video Music Awards after-party, with accusations involving a minor. This isn't a criminal case, it's civil, which means we're talking about lawsuits, damages, and legal accountability through the courts, not jail time. But make no mistake, the severity of what's being alleged has sent shockwaves through the entire industry. Jay-Z's legal response is the second major piece of evidence we have. Attorney Alex Spiro's public statement is unusually aggressive for this type of case. Typically, high-profile defendants either stay silent or issue brief, "we deny the allegations" statements. But Spiro went further. He publicly named the plaintiff's attorney, Tony Busby, characterized the lawsuit as an extortion and blackmail attempt, and demanded that the accuser either publicly identify herself or have the case thrown out. The statement specifically argues that the anonymity is being weaponized to make unchecked allegations without accountability. That's a bold legal strategy, and it signals that Jay-Z's team believes they can win this case in court and are willing to fight it publicly rather than settle quietly behind closed doors. Now, the supporting receipts that internet investigators are pulling together. People have gone back and found footage from the 2000 MTV VMAs. That was a major event. This was peak TRL era, peak Diddy visibility with Bad Boy Records dominating, peak Rockefeller with Jay-Z on top of the world. Photos from that night show both Diddy and Jay-Z at the main event, which is expected since they were both industry titans at the time. After-party attendance is harder to document publicly, but multiple entertainment outlets from that era covered the exclusive parties that happened after major award shows, and both men were frequently photographed at such events. Internet sleuths have also resurfaced old interviews where Diddy and Jay-Z talked openly about their friendship, their collaborations, and the industry party culture of the late 90s and early 2000s. At the time, those comments were seen as aspirational, two moguls who made it talking about the lifestyle that came with success. But now, those same clips are being re-examined with suspicion, with people asking, what did party culture really mean? Who was invited? What was happening in private that the public didn't see? None of this is proof of the specific allegations, but it establishes that both men were deeply embedded in the same social and professional circles during the exact time period in question. There's also the legal timeline that's raising questions. Why was the lawsuit amended now to add Jay-Z? The original complaint against Diddy was filed months ago, so what changed? Did the plaintiff's legal team discover new evidence? Did witnesses come forward? Did documentation surface? Or, and this is what Jay-Z's attorneys are arguing, is this a strategic move by Tony Busby to add the biggest name possible to maximize media attention and settlement pressure? We don't have public answers to those questions yet, but they're critical to understanding whether this amendment is based on genuine evidence or legal maneuvering. The smoking gun, if we're being honest, doesn't exist publicly yet. What we have is a legal allegation with specific details, a categorical denial from Jay-Z's team, and no physical evidence or witness testimony that's been made public. In civil cases involving incidents from 20-plus years ago, physical evidence is almost always gone. No forensic evidence, no security footage, no contemporaneous medical records. What these cases often come down to is credibility, the accuser's testimony, any corroborating witnesses, patterns of behavior, and whether the defendant's denials hold up under scrutiny. The discovery process, where both sides gather evidence, take depositions, and build their cases, is where the real smoking gun might emerge if one exists. But right now, we're in the earliest stage of this legal battle, and both sides are fighting for narrative control before any evidence is tested in court. The cultural response to this news has been massive, divided, and revealing about where we are as a society when it comes to celebrity, power, and accountability. Celebrity reactions have been notably silent, and that silence is loud. As of right now, Beyoncé has not made any public statement. No Instagram post, no statement through her publicist, nothing. That's expected given the seriousness of the allegations and the fact that any public comment could be used in legal proceedings, but the Beehive has taken her silence as a cue to defend Jay-Z aggressively on social media. They're flooding comment sections with reminders that allegations are not convictions, pointing to Jay-Z's decades of success and philanthropy, and attacking anyone suggesting he might be guilty as engaging in a witch hunt. The other major figures in hip-hop, people you'd expect to weigh in, like Nas, Kanye West, Rock Nation artists, or even longtime collaborators, have been conspicuously quiet. No one's publicly defending Jay-Z, but no one's condemning Jay-Z either. That's strategic silence, and it reveals a lot. In the industry, people know that publicly supporting someone facing these allegations could backfire massively if more evidence comes out, but attacking someone who's ultimately proven innocent could end careers and relationships. So the safest move is to say nothing, and that's exactly what most people are doing. The few industry voices that have spoken have been careful and measured. Legal analysts on platforms like CNN, TMZ Live, and various hip-hop podcasts have been explaining the difference between civil and criminal cases, what burden of proof exists, and what Jay-Z's aggressive legal response might indicate. Some have pointed out that innocent people often fight aggressively, while others note that powerful people have the resources to fight even when guilty. Basically, expert opinion is split, which reflects the broader cultural divide. Social media has been an absolute war zone. Twitter is divided between hashtags like #IStandWithSurvivors and #InnocentUntilProvenGuilty. Viral tweets range from people saying powerful black men have been falsely accused throughout history, don't rush to judgment, to others saying stop protecting powerful men just because you like their music, believe survivors. The divide isn't just about Jay-Z specifically, it's about broader tensions around #MeToo, racial justice, celebrity worship, and how we balance the presumption of innocence with taking allegations seriously. TikTok exploded with videos analyzing everything from Jay-Z's lyrics, looking for problematic patterns, to Diddy and Jay-Z's friendship timeline, to legal breakdowns of what this lawsuit means. Some of the most viral TikToks are from legal professionals explaining civil versus criminal cases, which is actually educating millions of people about how the legal system works. That's a positive outcome even in the midst of chaos. Instagram comment sections under posts from The Shade Room, Baller Alert, and Hollywood Unlocked are intense. You've got people defending Jay-Z based on his marriage to Beyoncé and his business success, others pointing out that powerful men have historically used their status to avoid accountability, and still others demanding we wait for evidence before forming opinions. It's a microcosm of the broader cultural conversation we're having right now. Media coverage has been widespread but careful. Major outlets like CNN, NBC News, ABC News, Rolling Stone, Billboard, Complex, and Variety have all covered the story, but they're using careful language. Allegations, lawsuit claims, reportedly, and Jay-Z denies. That's responsible journalism. They're reporting what's been alleged without stating it as fact, because doing otherwise could open them up to defamation lawsuits. Legal shows like Law and Crime have done deep dives into what this case might look like as it proceeds through court. The unexpected angle that's emerged is the conversation about the entire era of hip-hop being put on trial. This isn't just about Jay-Z or Diddy as individuals, it's about whether the industry's untouchable elite from the 2000s are finally facing a reckoning. People are bringing up other industry figures, other rumors that were never investigated, other allegations that were settled quietly. There's a sense that this moment might be a turning point where the culture stops protecting powerful men just because of their status, wealth, or contributions to music.
To truly understand why this moment feels so seismic, you need to understand the full layers of context that most surface-level coverage is missing. The complete timeline of Jay-Z and Diddy's relationship is decades long and deeply intertwined. Both men came up in the 90s, with Diddy with Bad Boy Records and artists like Notorious B.I.G., Jay-Z with Rockefeller Records building his own empire. They weren't just peers, they were part of the same cultural moment when hip-hop transitioned from underground art form to commercial powerhouse. Throughout the 2000s, they were photographed together constantly, at award shows, at their own parties, at industry events. They collaborated on business ventures, praised each other in interviews, and represented a generation of hip-hop moguls who made it beyond music, into fashion, liquor, media, and tech.
The 2000 MTV VMAs specifically was a massive cultural moment. This was the era when MTV actually played music videos, when TRL with Carson Daly was the biggest show on television, when award shows were events that shut down the internet, or at least the early internet. If you were a major player in hip-hop in 2000, you were absolutely at the VMAs, and you were absolutely at the exclusive after-parties. That's not suspicious, that's just context for how these worlds operated. The hidden connections that are now being scrutinized. Diddy's parties were legendary in the industry. The white parties in the Hamptons, the album release events, the after parties following major award shows, these were exclusive, star-studded, and often talked about in vague terms as wild or epic, without specifics. At the time, that vagueness was part of the appeal. These were events the public couldn't access, and the mystery added to their legendary status. But now, in light of Diddy's current legal troubles involving multiple accusers alleging misconduct at parties and industry events, people are asking, what actually happened at those parties? What was considered normal that shouldn't have been? Who witnessed what and stayed silent? Jay-Z's presence at Diddy's events over the years is well documented through photos, social media posts, and interviews. Again, this isn't evidence of wrongdoing, it's context for how interconnected these worlds were, but the internet is now analyzing every photo, every mention, every collaboration through a different lens, looking for patterns or red flags that might have been missed at the time. The money and business angle is critical here. Jay-Z isn't just a rapper, he's a billionaire with business interests spanning music, Roc Nation, sports management, Roc Nation Sports, liquor, Douce Cognac, Ace of Spades Champagne, real estate, tech investments, and more. His brand is built on a specific image, the street hustler who became a legitimate businessman, the devoted husband who overcame infidelity and built a power couple with Beyoncé, the philanthropist who gives back through the Sean Carter Foundation. Allegations like this threaten to destroy that carefully constructed image, regardless of their ultimate truth. Financially, the stakes are enormous. Brand partnerships, endorsement deals, business ventures, all of these are at risk if public perception shifts. We've seen it happen to other major figures. When allegations surface, companies quietly distance themselves, deals get paused, projects get shelved. Jay-Z's legal team knows this, which is why they're fighting so aggressively. A quiet settlement might make the legal case go away, but it could be interpreted as an admission of guilt in the court of public opinion. Fighting publicly and aggressively sends the message, we have nothing to hide, we're confident we'll win, and we're not going to let baseless allegations destroy what we've built. The personal impact is real, even beyond the money and fame. Jay-Z and Beyoncé have 3 children, Blue Ivy, who's now a teenager, and twins, Rumi and Sir. Regardless of wealth and resources, allegations like this impact families deeply. There's the immediate stress of legal battles, the long-term impact on how their children will process this information as they grow up, and the personal toll on a marriage that's already weathered public challenges. Jay-Z's admitted infidelity, which he addressed on the album 4.44. There's also the legacy question. Jay-Z is 54 years old.
He's spent the last decade transitioning from active rapper to mogul, from partygoer to elder statesman of hip-hop. His reputation has been largely positive. Respected businessman, devoted father, husband who publicly worked through marital issues. Allegations like this threaten to rewrite that entire narrative, to become the first thing people think of when his name comes up, regardless of whether they're proven true. That's a psychological weight that's hard to quantify, but incredibly real. Let's break down the different perspectives on this situation, because both sides have arguments that deserve to be heard, even if the title of this video makes it clear where the cultural conversation is headed. Hip-hop's power structure is being shaken, and the illusion of immunity is crumbling. The power structure dissent's perspective. Here's what people defending the status quo are saying. Jay-Z has been in the public eye for 30 years. He's been photographed, documented, scrutinized more than almost any artist in hip-hop history. If there was credible evidence of serious wrongdoing, especially something involving a minor, why are we only hearing about it now through a civil lawsuit amendment decades later? The timing feels suspect. Diddy's in legal trouble, his attorney Tony Busby is representing multiple accusers and making headlines, and now suddenly Jay-Z's name gets added to a case? That feels like legal strategy, not justice. Jay-Z's aggressive response, demanding the accuser be identified, calling it blackmail, refusing to settle, suggests someone who's genuinely confident in their innocence. Powerful people settle cases all the time just to avoid headaches. The fact that he's not doing that and is instead fighting publicly and aggressively is significant. Also, let's be honest, powerful black men have been falsely accused throughout American history, and the presumption of innocence exists for a reason. Destroying someone's reputation based on allegations alone before any evidence is tested in court is dangerous and potentially ruinous. But here's the counter-argument, and it's powerful. Civil lawsuits exist precisely because criminal cases are incredibly difficult to win, especially involving incidents from decades ago. Survivors of assault often take years to come forward due to trauma, shame, fear of not being believed, and power imbalances, especially when the accused is a billionaire who can afford the best legal team money can buy. The look-back window laws were created specifically to give survivors legal recourse when they were previously blocked by statutes of limitations. Using those laws shouldn't be seen as suspicious. That's literally what they're for. The fact that multiple people are accusing Diddy of misconduct at parties and industry events suggests there might have been a culture of problematic behavior during that era, not just isolated incidents. And let's talk about power. When someone is rich enough, famous enough, and connected enough, they can control narratives, silence critics, and avoid accountability for years. The why now question ignores the reality that many survivors need distance and safety before they can come forward, and seeing others be believed, like the multiple Diddy accusers, can give them courage. Jay-Z's aggressive legal response could just as easily be seen as a powerful person using every resource at their disposal to intimidate and discredit an accuser, rather than evidence of innocence. What the facts show, objectively, is here's what we know for certain. A civil lawsuit has been filed with specific allegations naming Jay-Z. Jay-Z has categorically denied those allegations and is fighting them aggressively. No criminal charges have been filed. The allegations involve an incident allegedly from 2000, meaning physical evidence is almost certainly non-existent, and the case will likely come down to testimony, credibility, and whatever corroborating evidence might exist. The legal process will take months or years to play out. In the meantime, Jay-Z's reputation is undeniably impacted. That's the reality of the internet age, where allegations spread instantly and reputational damage happens long before legal verdicts. But here's the uncomfortable truth that aligns with our title. The illusion that certain people are untouchable is breaking. For decades, there was an understanding that moguls like Diddy, and Z operated on a different level, too rich, too powerful, too connected to ever face real consequences. The fact that we're even having this conversation, that lawsuits are being filed, that the internet is investigating, that the culture is demanding answers, that is the power structure being shaken. Whether Jay-Z is ultimately proven innocent or guilty in this case, the era of don't ask questions about what happens at elite parties is over. The era of they're too big to fall is over, and that shift is happening in real time. The cultural context. This moment is part of a broader reckoning about power, exploitation, and accountability in industries that have historically protected powerful men. We saw it in Hollywood with Weinstein, we saw it in media, tech, politics. The music industry, hip-hop specifically, has been slower to have this conversation, partly because of racial dynamics, legitimate fear of black men being falsely accused, and partly because hip-hop culture has historically celebrated certain behaviors that we're now re-examining. But that reckoning is here, and it's messy, complicated, and necessary. Whether this specific case is part of that necessary accountability or a false accusation that will ultimately be disproven, the conversation itself is revealing how much the culture has shifted and how the old power structures aren't holding like they used to.
Based on how high-profile civil cases like this typically unfold, here's what I expect to happen over the coming weeks, months, and potentially years. Immediate next moves. Jay-Z's legal team is going to file motions to dismiss or to compel the accuser to reveal her identity. That's their stated strategy, and they'll push it hard. Those motions will be argued in court, and a judge will decide whether the case proceeds and whether the accuser can maintain anonymity. If the judge allows the case to move forward with the accuser remaining anonymous, which is common in cases involving alleged sexual assault, we'll enter the discovery phase. That's where both sides gather evidence, documents, depositions, witness statements. Discovery can take months and is when the real evidence, if any exists, will emerge. I expect more media scrutiny on both Jay-Z and Diddy's past. Investigative journalists are probably already digging through old interviews, photos, party attendance lists, and industry rumors. If there's corroborating evidence or witnesses, discovery is when they'll be found. If there's evidence disproving the allegations, like documentation showing Jay-Z wasn't at the alleged location at the alleged time, that'll emerge too. I also wouldn't be surprised if other people come forward, either in support of Jay-Z or with additional allegations. That's the pattern we've seen in other high-profile cases. One person coming forward can embolden others, whether they're supporting the accused or accusing them. Short-term consequences. Jay-Z's business empire will be watched closely by partners and investors. I don't expect immediate mass exodus. He's innocent until proven guilty, and the case is just beginning. But brands will be preparing contingency plans. If damaging evidence emerges during discovery, we could see partnerships paused or quietly ended. Rock Nation artists will be asked about this in interviews, which will be uncomfortable for everyone. Some might publicly support Jay-Z, others might stay silent, and that silence will be analyzed endlessly. Beyoncé's next move will be scrutinized. If she appears publicly with Jay-Z, it'll be seen as a show of support. If she maintains distance or stays silent, that'll be analyzed too. There's no right move that won't be overanalyzed. The hip-hop community will likely remain mostly silent publicly. No one wants to be the person who defended someone if more comes out, but no one wants to pile on based solely on allegations either. Expect a lot of praying for everyone involved non-statements. Long-term impact. If Jay-Z is ultimately cleared, either through case dismissal, winning a trial, or evidence emerging that proves his innocence, he'll have survived one of the biggest reputation threats of his career. But in the internet age, the allegation will always be part of his Wikipedia page, his Google search results, his legacy. That's unfortunate if he's innocent, but that's the reality. If the case goes badly for him, either through a settlement, which could be seen as admission even if it's not legally, or losing at trial, we're talking about legacy-altering consequences. His business empire might survive financially, he's a billionaire with diversified investments, but his cultural legacy as a hip-hop icon would be permanently complicated. His music would be re-examined, his business practices questioned, his friendships scrutinized. For the broader industry, I think this moment accelerates the accountability conversation in hip-hop. More survivors might feel empowered to come forward. More journalists might investigate industry practices. More power structures might be questioned. That's uncomfortable and messy, but potentially necessary for real change. Wildcards and unexpected factors. What if evidence emerges that Jay-Z was provably not at the alleged location on the alleged date? That would completely vindicate him and potentially expose the lawsuit as false, which would have massive implications for how we process future allegations. Or what if discovery uncovers corroborating witnesses or evidence that supports the allegations? That would be devastating and could trigger more revelations. We also don't know what other information might come out related to the broader Diddy investigation that could indirectly involve Jay-Z or other industry figures. This situation is fluid, and we're likely only at the beginning of a much longer story. All right, let me give you the real takeaway here. The thing that matters beyond the legal case, beyond the celebrity gossip, beyond even this specific allegation. What everyone's missing isn't actually about whether Jay-Z is guilty or innocent of this specific allegation. That's for courts to decide based on evidence. What this really reveals is that the illusion of untouchability for hip-hop's elite is shattering in real time. For decades, there was an unspoken understanding that certain people, moguls, billionaires, industry titans, operated above the rules. Their parties were legendary but unquestioned. Their behavior was celebrated as wild without scrutiny. Their power was assumed to be permanent. But that era is over. The fact that lawsuits are being filed, that the internet is investigating, that the culture is demanding answers instead of just accepting vague explanations, that's the real story. Whether this specific case ends in Jay-Z's vindication or his downfall, the shift has already happened. No one is untouchable anymore. No amount of money or fame can protect you from accountability forever. And that's terrifying for anyone who benefited from the old power structure.
Who's really right, wrong? Here's my take after looking at all the evidence we have right now. Jay-Z deserves the presumption of innocence. That's a legal right and a moral principle, especially given the history of black men being falsely accused. His aggressive legal response suggests confidence, and the fact that he's fighting publicly rather than settling quietly is notable. But the accuser also deserves to have her claims heard and evaluated by the legal system. Civil lawsuits exist for a reason, and survivors often take years to come forward. Both things can be true. What bothers me most is the rush to judgment on both sides, people instantly believing or instantly dismissing based on their feelings about Jay-Z, not on evidence. That's tribalism, not justice. Let the legal process play out. Let evidence be tested. Let both sides make their case. Then we can make informed judgments. In the meantime, what I'm certain of is this. The culture has shifted. The power dynamics are changing, and the industry is being forced to confront uncomfortable questions about what was normalized for too long. The bigger implications. What this moment reveals about celebrity culture and hip-hop specifically is that we're in the middle of a massive reckoning. The behaviors, the power dynamics, the exploitation that might have been tolerated or ignored in previous decades, the culture isn't accepting that anymore. Whether it's Jay-Z, Diddy, or any other major figure, there's a growing demand for accountability that's not going away. That's uncomfortable, messy, and will probably result in both necessary justice and unfortunate false accusations. But the alternative, continuing to protect powerful people simply because of their status, isn't acceptable anymore either. Personal reflection. I'll be honest, I hope the truth comes out, whatever that truth is. If Jay-Z is innocent, I hope he's fully exonerated and the person who made false claims is held accountable. If the allegations are true, I hope the survivor gets justice and Jay-Z faces appropriate consequences. What I don't want is another situation where money and power result in a quiet settlement and we never get real answers. The culture deserves clarity. Survivors deserve justice. Innocent people deserve exoneration. And the industry needs to confront its past honestly, even when that's painful. This case, regardless of its outcome, is forcing that conversation, and that might be the most important thing to come out of it. Thanks for watching Celeb Luxe. If you enjoyed uncovering the real story, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss when we expose what everyone else is too scared to say. Ring that bell for notifications. And if you want more truth bombs like this, click on one of these videos next. Trust me, you'll want to see what we found.